Oh,
Welcome, welcome. Oh, now go. All right, wow. There goes this beautiful, beautiful start that we had tailored. It was perfect. Everyone was going to be happy. Never mind anymore. Welcome to WeTaku Anime Reviews. I'm your host, Jovan, and my degree in Weebology, which is hidden around here somewhere. Here's a yearbook. I guess that's kind of close to a degree. Is in Shonen BS, which means I am not qualified to talk about anything intelligent, which is unfortunate considering today. And my three co-hosts are with me. Introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Thomas, and I like, anime.
You did it.
I don't know anymore. Themed anime that actually pulls it off correctly. I like good anime, I guess.
Oh, you did it.
I like stuff that isn't your shit.
All
I'm
right.
talking to you.
I pretty much agree with that. I like anime. I don't even know anymore. I'm Steven. I think my degree in weebology has probably been revoked at some point for some reason or another, but I like things like Bacano, which kind of stands in a genre on its own, so...
So you just like Bacano. Literally the only show you enjoy.
Things like Bacano. It's
Just
a
Bacano.
nice genre.
I'm gonna start calling it Bacano. I can't do it, man.
Fair enough. I don't know.
Alright,
how
we
to
have
pronounce
a fourth person, I think, who might matter.
do we? I didn't know. Oh, well, I hate anime. I'm out.
Well, there's that. Alright, this has been WeTaku Anime Review. We'll see you next week. No. That would be Allan. Tisk Allan. Alright, before we get the show started, I would like to say we apologize for the trash quality comparatively, which is saying something, in terms of technical issues. Things should be better next show, I believe. It's just this one. We might have a little bit of frame jump, etc., etc. We'll try to fix it as much as we can in editing. So, that's a thing. Alright, so...
Also, Steven's last one for the summer.
Oh,
So,
that's true.
Enjoy him while he lasts.
That's true. I was going to say it at the end, but you have a better point. I want all of you to just stare at Steven and hyperanalyze literally everything he says, because it's the last you're going to get of him for a bit.
Oh, don't say that.
He's
Oh,
coming back. We're shipping him off to a different
Oh.
country.
no, I'll be overseas for a while, but I'll be back in July, so...
He's been deported. Don't trust him. So, the show that we did this week was Ima Soko no Iro Boku, or in English, Here and There, Now and Then.
I'm impressed. You got it. As far as I know, you got it.
I felt really good about saying it. It's good that it's a name that rhymes. We're on point today. I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling it. So, for the description of this show, I'm just gonna go with my anime list one because it actually explains the show, and because I think all of us went in blind, we had no idea what we were about to get. Shu is a typical Japanese boy, but has an unbeatable, optimistic, and determined attitude. However, when he sees a mysterious girl with strange eyes named Lala Rue up a smokestack, he is soon pulled into a strange desert world. Now, I'm gonna cut out the middle bit so you guys can be as blind as we are. And then something happens. Whether Shu can possibly accomplish saving those he cares about while still holding up to his values remains to be seen.
Okay.
That's how the show felt like when it started. Kicking off scores, I guess I'll start off with our story bit. We have this whole thing, it's real fun. And I am giving it a solid 6.5 out of 10, I think.
Wait, what?
Because... Oh god, am I lying? No, I just gave it a 6. I did lie.
Okay,
I lied.
okay,
My story
either
was
you or
a
me.
6. It was a 6. It's fine. We're fine. Good. I started off so good too. Thomas is just disappointed in me. You know what? It's fine.
I'm not sure if you've ever gotten it right, Jamal.
At least once. At least once. I believe in myself here. The next three will be on point, I promise, probably. So, story-wise, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 due to the fact that it wasn't clear or good or what I expected or wanted or great. The story kind of jumps from what you expect to something else completely different, as well as it goes too long and adds a bunch of stuff that it didn't need to, in my opinion. So we're gonna give it a 6 out of 10, and well, Tom here have the fun stick. See if you get it right first try.
I gave it a 7 out of 10 because I liked. Oh, it was not how I expected it to be. Like Javon said, it surprised me, and not always in a good way, but sometimes in a good way. It was a lot more mature than I expected it to be, with the main character being like an 11-year-old kid or something like that, and I mean, they obviously wanted to show how like oblivious he was, like how or how like protected he was before going to this new place where everything is terrible. But it's 7 out of 10 for me, I guess.
Okay, I gave it a 6 out of 10. I think overall the story was okay. Like, I thought it was actually pretty good, the overall story. Like, what it begins with and kind of establishes. But as Javon said, it runs for too long, and I feel as though they just started adding more and more to it that wasn't really necessary. So if you kind of consider it on the whole and like the story that they established and were trying to kind of come to an end with, I think the story was actually pretty good. It basically, my feeling on it is that this could have been done in a movie in a much better way. It would have removed a lot of the unnecessary stuff and just kind of consolidated it, and I think if that had been done, the story would have been a lot more solid. That being said, I think the plot was there to make a movie, and I think it was a pretty decent plot. To me, it kind of felt like a Ghibli film, but dragged out far too much. Almost like a... Huh?
The shapes of their faces were very Ghibli-esque.
Yeah, that might have helped a lot.
It kind of looked and felt a lot like Ghibli in a lot of ways to me. Just kind of the whole mysterious vibe I got from it throughout. I almost like Ghibli film meets Evangelion in a lot of ways.
God, you stole that from me. All right, I'm gonna
sorry.
bring that up later.
But yeah. So 6 out of 10.
Okay. I am also a 6 out of 10. A lot of what's been said, I kind of agree with. If you've ever seen like an adventure anime from around this time, which is the 1990s, the early 2000s, like you kind of get a sense of what this would be, really. Not from the summary. Summary lies, kind of. It's a lot darker than most, though. I don't have too much to say otherwise. Yeah.
All right, then we will plod on towards the character bit, which big sighs, everybody. So for characters, I gave it a 6, but that is a conditional 6. The condition is that there were 2 characters who felt like they actually put effort into, and many characters that they did not, and one character that I thought was like kind of halfway-ish. So without those 2 decent characters, the score for characters would be much lower. But as it stands, I think 6 is fine for what we got. I think if you focus in on the certain plights of certain characters, then you see a much deeper picture than if you focus on everything. And if you focus on what got the most screen time, then stop. All right. So 6 out of 10.
I gave it a 6 out of 10, but now that I think about it, probably should have given it a 4.
Oh, no, spoiler. Oh, whoops.
What?
Oh, no, I accidentally showed Steven's score.
Oh, I mean, but so I gave it a 6. The main character's your typical boring, weak main character that doesn't want to ever do anything, and then, but the villain was good. He was crazy, a little unbelievably crazy, but still like enough to make it interesting. And then there was a girl that we'll probably talk about once we get to spoilers, who developed pretty well, and that's all I want to say about that right now.
All right, I'm gonna try to do this without spoilers, but I need to mention like 2 characters specifically. So, I give characters a 3 out of 10.
You
I'm
can
not
use their
just
names.
I'm not just going to focus in on the ones that were good, because a lot of them were pretty bad. So Abelia, like I think there was one time they showed her like questioning her actions, but like she doesn't do anything about it. She questions it once and then just keeps doing it for the rest of the show. Like, and the same goes for the guy who was fighting, and I don't remember his name, but
Maka something or another.
Boo?
I really
you mean?
don't. Not
No, not
Boo,
Boo, the
but
guy
the
who hung
other
out in
guy.
The blonde
Yeah.
one?
No,
not
the
the
black-haired one. Green eyes.
Nabuka?
Nabuka.
Oh, Nabuka? Yeah, okay. You also saw him questioning his actions, and I think at the end he finally did something, but he was just kind of stupid and a jerk, and just everyone just kind of existed and did what they were told, and I guess in a way that was the world they set up, but I don't know, the characters had zero personality. It like tries to show this inner turmoil once and then never again, so they really just had no personality beyond just existing, and I didn't like that. The main character I still thought was decent at best, not good. He did stuff, I guess. And then, yeah, as Thomas said, I think the villain was probably the best character, just because he was kind of insane, and they showed that. He had a personality, more so than any other character in the show. So I gave characters a 3, because they were not people. They just existed.
Okay. I gave it a 5, dead center. I thought there were a lot of bland characters. A lot of later characters are pretty bland, actually. Like, most of the characters introduced later on in the series are not very fleshed out whatsoever. I do think Nabuka, like, I had this thing about Nabuka and Abelia, like, even though they didn't outright show that they were questioning, I thought their facial expression kind of made up for it, because it did sort of show that they were conflicted about what they were doing. They still did it.
I give that more so to Abelia than I do to Nabuka, I think.
Yeah, Abelia,
Yeah.
they definitely did their job with her body language.
Yeah, but Nabuka tended to question more anyway. Like, it actually showed him questioning more than Abelia did. As far as like the main 2 characters actually remind me of, like, their dynamic remind me exactly of the dynamic of the main 2 leads of Elemental Gelade or Gelade or however you want to say that. I don't think any of you have seen that. But yeah, pretty similar.
Okay. Yeah, let me also mention Lalaru, since no one seemed to mention her. She never spoke. Like, okay, she spoke a few times, but like, she just kind of stared. Like, people are yelling her name, and she just stares off into space. And I'm like, okay, I understand they're going for that. Like, she doesn't speak, but
Or react.
she had no personality. She was just. It was just to the point it was annoying more than anything. It's just like, will you do something, please?
I
We
agree.
could just stop existing.
I think I liked Lalaru's bland, or I guess inexpressive face more in the first half than the second half, when she had more reason to react to the people around her and still chose not to.
Uh-huh.
They
But
had a
no.
good culmination moment when she just
yeah,
walks out
I remember that.
when the main villain's yelling at her. and that I think that's the only good point, because I mean he's just so crazy and he's just yelling at her, and it just like keeps building himself up because he just wants to see her do something and she doesn't do anything.
And then when she eventually did do something, he started yelling at her to stop immediately. I really like
no
the
reaction to him.
there.
It was a reaction to someone else.
No, after that, she reacted to him, and he cowered from it. Just the fact that she was looking at him.
Oh, yeah.
But I really did like that juxtaposition. That was basically her only good moment. But I think we'll move onwards
Her
from
only
there
good
and
moment
go...
Anyway, she didn't
Okay.
actually do anything, so...
True.
Yeah.
Next off is sound.
No.
And
It's
Really?
animation.
really?
It's animation, man.
I
Mr.
can't
Host.
correct you there. I never had the order right, so.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Host.
as the one who has to go first, I sacrifice my pride for the rest of you. Thomas, are you threatening me with a belt?
I was just moving up and down.
All right. Oh God, help! Please, someone. So, for animation, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 because while the show looked, I think, like the actual art style, the backgrounds looked pretty nice. I think I really liked one specific rock area that looked nice.
I liked one rock.
I mean, but actually, though, I thought the CG for the flying ship actually looked really good within the world. I barely noticed it was CG, and like even then, it looked. I think it looked fine. What bothered me the most was characters in action, specifically actions that had to be hard or fast. Those being punches, running, kicks,
Are you
hitting
talking
something,
about,
smashing something.
Are you talking about when they sort of draw it as if it were like a squiggly line, like a blur?
No. I would have preferred it if they had done that a little bit more. What I'm talking about is no matter how hard somebody's supposed to hit something, the examples that come to my mind the most are like a drill sergeant kicking him and Sarah when she was smashing the rock into his hand. Both of which looked like they were both just barely touching them. Like there was no speed to the animation. It was like, I'm supposed to be hitting this really hard and apparently you are in pain, but I cannot tell because...
The main character just lays there and is like,
Yeah, not great acting there, but also just, yeah, it doesn't look like they're getting hit. It looks like they're faking it in a really bad play, which is funny because this is animation and you don't have to worry about pulling the punches, I guess, I thought. Apparently the drawn characters were still afraid of hurting each other because no punch went faster than like 1/4 of a mile per hour. So that was the biggest thing for me, and because there's so much movement in the show, it hit really hard for me, so I'm giving that a 6 out of 10.
I also gave it a 6 out of 10 because the thing that raises it up is the very pretty backgrounds. Very pretty backgrounds. That is the extent of what made it good, and so they have some like decent like composition when it comes to like how the sun reflects off like something that's in front of it, like silhouetting. But near the last episode, they have like this slow motion moment, and I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, but I mean, typically when you do slow motion, you have like a lot of frames that are like just like slowly having them go. Not very few frames that has a frame that lasts about 2 seconds before the next frame, which lasts about 2 seconds, then the next, like it looked awful, and that was the biggest thing that stood out to me as far as that's concerned. Where
There's a lot of
like,
standing still frames too.
Yeah, unnecessarily too. It would be something that is not difficult to animate, and they would cut corners and have a still frame there anyway. So 6 out of 10, but probably should be lower.
I gave it a 5 out of 10. I don't have much to say. I just kind of think it was average. I didn't really pay attention to the backgrounds that much, so I may have missed out on that. And I will actually say I kind of like the slow motion scene at the end. I kind of liked what they did there. It was probably bad, but I enjoyed it. But yeah, overall, I just thought it was pretty average. I didn't think it was bad, but definitely not good. So, yeah, 5.
4. I could not take certain things. In the beginning, I thought it was actually pretty fine. But as it went on, I started to notice a lot more still frames or just talking heads. They just sort of stood there a lot. To the point where when I was watching it, the video actually paused, and I didn't realize that it paused because I just thought it was another like still frame.
I checked a lot to see if my video paused during those frames because it would go on for like more time than you would expect sometimes. Like I know there were at least a few that broke the 10 or 15-second mark.
Evangelion.
Yeah, this raises a question actually very quickly about animation studios. So if a show is trying to be very what's the word? Very deep and philosophical and what's the word? Symbolism. That's the word. If a show's trying to use a lot of symbolism, do they just not get a budget because between this and Evangelion.
I mean,
Yeah.
But
Ghost in the Shell got one.
That's true, but Ghost in the Shell actually had things that happened as well as like symbolism.
That
I guess Evangelion
a
did
fair
too.
amount of symbolism in it.
No, I realize that. I meant I was kind of digging this one a bit more in that I thought this show didn't do anything except for try to set up symbolism.
Well, I think the problem with Evangelion is it was run by Gainax, who never had enough money for anything.
That's true.
And then I don't know this one, so I can't say anything for that.
Okay.
Speaking of Evangelion, there was actually a scene at the very end of just them standing there with like a blue sky that like really reminded me of the last scene of Evangelion.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Nobody clapped though.
Nobody clapped.
Thank
Alright.
God.
That's the best I can give this show. All right, moving on to sound. I actually liked what they did with sound here. 7.5 out of 10. I actually liked what they did with sound because you could tell. Maybe this is just me wanting to be spoon-fed symbolism, but I don't really do well with symbolism shows. So, with the exception of, I did like Ghost in the Shell, the movie. I've only seen the movie, but I don't do super well with symbolism kind of stuff. So I liked that they really directed you pretty well with the music. You knew when something was supposed to be hopeful and when something was supposed to be like, oh, this looks kind of nice, but actually it's sinister. And like they're very upfront in beating you over the head with it due to the music. But I appreciated that because I could turn my brain off more for this show because I didn't really want to. It was hard for me to keep going, we'll say. So I'll give you a 7.5 out of 10 for keeping me going. That said, though, ending and beginning theme were
Not
there. Ending was okay, I think. Beginning was
not
no.
It was a slideshow.
It was a
Actual
slideshow. The beginning
slideshow.
was a slideshow. Yeah. It should be noted that also for sound, the dub and the sub came out at the same time. It was released concurrently in America and Japan. So they did put effort into the dub. I listened to the first episode as I always do. It was okay.
It was
Of course, the
no
first
moon
episode and the rest of the problem is the first episode and the rest of the episodes don't really have a lot of cohesion together. So I actually don't know how they portrayed some of the darker scenes that happened afterwards in the dub. I should have gone.
Like
It was
6
no
or
moon
7.
people.
I should have. Yeah.
I almost
sure.
watched the dub just because Crispin Freeman is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
they did put effort into the dub. They did want Americans to see this at the same time as the Japanese. I'll give them credit for that. But once more, I didn't actually get to see most of the horrifying bits, if you want to call them that. So I don't know how they did that in the dub.
God.
But it should be noted. So far as I know, the dub is pretty okay.
There's
7.5 out of 10.
I don't know if you guys noticed. They animated the Nato at the very beginning very well. It looked really gross as it should have.
Oh yeah, no, they did great with that.
yeah.
I gave Sound a 6 out of 10. And I thought the opening song was okay. The end song fit with the theme of the show. and that's not counting how it looked. That's just the sound of it. The background sounds, bleh, did not care. Nothing special about anything that wasn't them talking. The voice acting was not bad, not bad. Especially the main villain Hamdo. He was
Top tier.
probably a great voice actor, like fantastic.
Yeah.
And then there was one song that they played a couple of times that when I listened to it, I can't give you what it reminded me of right now, but it always made me think of another show, and I'm not sure if it was intentionally reminiscent or if the show that
Was it the vaguely off-putting one, or
it was like the one like the revelation of mystery type of song,
Yeah.
right?
yeah?
But yeah, so I mean, nothing terrific came out of it, so 6 out of 10.
I actually gave it an 8 out of 10. I definitely think sound was the high point of this show. I'd like to specifically point out the first episode. I think the sound of the first episode is really what got me hooked. I kind of thought the first episode was the best of the series. And I think it was a very solid first episode in general. So, like, they have a lot of ambient sounds that, especially in the first episode, more than latter ones, I think did really well to set the mood and everything. And there was one point where you could hear the wind blowing, and then it just stops. And, like, complete silence. And at that point, my heart kind of stopped. Like, it was really good. And then that's when stuff started happening. Like, right after that silent bit. What else? I had a lot of notes on sound, I think. I think that's about it, though.
Wait, Steven, I bet I could drop your sound score by one.
Okay.
One word. Lallaroo.
I'm gonna bring that up more in spoilers, but, like, I don't know. The sound in general, I think, was very on point. I think while the music wasn't necessarily exceptional, I always noticed when it was playing. Like, it always kind of felt appropriate. It felt like it was adding to the show. The ambient sounds were great to me. I think the voice acting as well was on point, at least with most of the characters. So, 8 out of 10.
I actually agree. 8 out of 10. Oh god, someone's echoing. I think.
I think it's just you.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, the ambient sounds are definitely the high point of this show. They use them so often. I actually had to, like, pay attention to catch it. But if you guys notice, there's only like 3 tracks in this entire anime, besides the opening and ending.
No, that is very true. There is the happy track.
There's a happy track, there's the, like, mystery track, and then there's, like, the in-between, sort of. But they're so far and few between that, like, they definitely make an impact when they start playing.
I think there were actually... I think there might have been one more track. I think there might have been 4. But
maybe.
gone.
But anyway, the voice acting, as said, was pretty on point. They weren't, like, super amazing, but they did their job and they were pretty good at their roles. And Hamdo is the best. I am kind of disappointed that there's so little tracks. At the same time, I can understand why. This show doesn't seem to have much of a budget, so 3 good tracks is better than, like, 10 mediocre tracks. So yeah, 8.
Alright, with all that in mind, we will be heading into the spoiler section in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, before we actually start spoiler discussion,
Wait,
okay, Thomas's kill.
what happened?
Before we actually start, no, before we start spoiler discussion, I would like to just say that this is a show that's trying to steep itself as heavily into symbolism as physically possible. So if we don't cover all of that and or disregard some of it, please do not lynch us. We will be reviewing the show as we saw it and not as we psychoanalyzed literally every piece of it. Unless one of you guys wants to psychoanalyze every piece of it. I did not.
There's a lot of heavy
So-
stuff there.
I like to start off the spoiler section by asking, who was Best Girl?
Hamdo! No.
Hamdo.
Yeah, Hamdo.
Really?
I'm not
Yeah.
actually gonna say Hamdo. I don't actually know.
Right, Alan?
Mainly because, like, I've ranted about this before. I don't really like those types of characters. Like I said with Rainbow. Like, I don't like it when characters are literally, like, one note, and that's, like, most of the cast. So I can't really say much. You know?
I see. With Hamdo... Alright, getting a little deep here, guys. Hold on to the swimming pool rails. With Hamdo, I actually saw, like, some of the worst parts of my personality that, like, I see in myself, I guess. Like, just, like, because sometimes you can flip a switch, and, like, if you're super anxious or you're super worried about something, you do flip out a little bit too much on the people you depend on. And then immediately, like, him to an extreme. But, like, in the beginning, I kind of saw that in Hamdo, and I was like, oh, this is kind of a sympathetic character for that. And then they just kind of kept pushing him further and further until he was, like, out of any reach of believability, I think. So initially, I might have said Hamdo. I think afterwards, though, I go with a dual Best Girl of Boo and Soon, the two little kids.
Soon? I didn't think she had enough of an impact. She was kind of there for... she had about as much screen time as... Probably about 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
She didn't have much. No, you're right. I just liked that. And let's be real here. This show is extraordinarily heavy-handed with the themes it was trying to push here. But
also
I
like to
did
point
like.
Your scores and Thomas's scores each have 3 6s. Illuminati.
Uh-oh.
You caught us. We're gonna have to shut down this podcast now, Alan. There should be somebody outside your house. I'm sorry.
Just join us.
Oh no, Thomas, not too soon. Too soon.
Oh, Alan Link disappeared.
Welcome to the Illuminati, Alan. No, my reasoning for Soon and Boo is because the way they were used. I liked Boo because it showed that he was younger than the other, like, abused kids, I guess, so he was able to, like, see more freedom in the world, I think was the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea of Boo and Soon because Soon was the girl raised in, like, the more loving society, I guess you'd call it, the less awful one. But the moment she had the chance to leap at revenge, she jumped at it, and it kind of ended up as her own downfall. And whereas Boo was the opposite, who was raised in the awful, horrible one, but he never actually killed, and I think only once even shot his gun. So, like, it was very nice. It was I liked the sort of, I liked how they were both used for that one little thing, and at the end of the day, they're just two kids who died in war. So
what I thought was cool with Boo is, so the main character is a little older than him. Boo's probably like around 8 years old. Main character is probably around 11. And when the main character, like, goes to eat dinner, eat lunch, Nabuka and Boo come to sit with them, and then they get onto this conversation, and the main character starts talking about something a little childish, and Boo calls him out for it. He was like, "What are you, a kid?" And Boo is considerably younger than him, but I liked that it showed that the lifestyle that they were in kind of forced him to be more mature than this person that's many years older than him.
that said, I want to talk about the main character a little bit because I thought that when he was forced into this rough, harsh world, he'd have to start making compromises with himself and or act like he was in this rough, harsh world. He didn't.
Static character.
Yeah.
I hated it.
The most static of character.
It's well, it's still better than the other shoe that I mentioned off stream.
That is true. All right, so yeah, if any of you have seen Guilty Crown, this shoe is better than that shoe. But
Please don't tell me that's on our list.
I think
I hope
my
not.
shoes are better than both of those shoes.
Oh
you are
my
not incorrect. Oh my shoe.
shoe.
Oh boy. No, but yeah, he was extraordinarily static, and his arguments, like, even I like the argument of life is worth living just because you're living it. And I think that's what he was trying to say, but he never once got close to saying anything near believable. He just kind of kept going, it's going to be okay, I promise, without doing anything else.
Like, it would have been cool to see him, like, start going down, like, the path of Nabucco, where... Oh, and, well, Nabucco, like, starts to get better, and he starts to get more, like, corrupted. But in the end, Nabucco, like, you think that he's, like, going to become, like, this awesome, important character, and then someone interrupts him, and then you don't see him again until, like, the last episode, and he's not important from then on. And, like, he had so much potential to be an important, like, folly character for Shu, and he turned into nothing. And Shu just stayed this Goku-esque character that doesn't... I mean, like, even Goku has his...
I was about to say, I would argue Goku had a lot more character development than Shu.
oh, no, definitely. But, like he reminded me a lot of Goku at first because of how, like, happy-go-lucky he was. But then I expected, like Goku, for him to start, like, noticing, like, how terrible, like, these things can be. But it never got there.
No, it did not.
Okay. So, do you mind if I shift subject a little bit here?
Go.
I don't know really what the setting of this was. Because if you recall, like, not long after they went on to Hollywood, which is a stupid-ass name, by the way.
Yeah.
Not long after that, they're like, oh, that kid must be from the world that Lalalu escaped to.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, are there multiple worlds here? What's going on?
They made it sound like there are multiple worlds.
It was
but then later in
time
the
travel.
show...
It was actually time travel. Like, at the very end...
How'd you get that?
No, at the very end, when they were sending him back, they mentioned that they're like, he can go to any time, like, with that machine. And also I kind of got... Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
my sub may not have said time. I think it said place. Like, anywhere you want to go is all I remember.
No, it's at any time. It's, you got placed from when Hamda wanted to be teleported out right before the whole thing flooded, Noah's Ark style, which I guess I should bring up in a sec. But before that, when he was trying to get out, he was like, send me back to any time, any place is better than this. So it kind of...
Also,
it was
Sarah,
weird.
Yeah,
It was very weird.
Sarah made it seem like it was another world because she was like, you know what America is and all that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
her phrasing made it seem like it was another world, but it was time travel.
I thought it was a little bit of both.
My subs definitely said other world, and I don't recall mine ever mentioning time travel.
Wait,
My
it should
subs
also be
may-
noted, Thomas,
but-
what is the name of the French name of the show?
L'autre monde.
Which is literally other world, right? So
Okay,
That's
but
more
see,
of a vague-
it doesn't... The thing is, like, episode 12 was titled, like, Burning Earth or something like that. And then, at one point, Hamdo is like, I will rule the Earth. So I'm like, this must not be another world. I'm confused. Very
I
confused.
think Earth can just be taken to mean the
I think
land,
it's supposed to be set thousands, if not millions of years in the future.
It's
Okay.
far in the future.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention, her name, like, Lalaru. Okay. I thought at first that was just a nickname that Shu was gonna give her because he was saying all these different syllables. Right? You remember that? He's saying all these
Yeah.
different syllables.
He's trying to
and
read
he
her
stops
lips.
there.
Yeah, he's trying to read her lips.
Oh god. Oh god.
So
It still just felt like he was saying like la and then la like confirming. So I'm like, how did you get that? Also, in your language you don't have L's, so like how are you translating it like this? This makes no sense. Like how
he
do they
try a
switch
lot of other
from O to
consonants first,
R?
but
Like, I understand if it was all L's or all R's, but no, there were both in there, so, like, how?
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
notice that too.
That
That was a little odd.
Yeah.
Also, you could probably make an entire episode of just people saying the word Lallaroo,
Yeah.
as there
Yeah.
were multiple minute segments of Hamda alone just yelling it.
And Shu, for that matter.
And Shu, for that matter. You're not wrong.
I wanted to point out. I had a couple things I wanted to say, but first I wanted to point out that Shu and Hamdo probably meet each other twice.
Three
I wanna
times.
say. What?
3 times.
3 times throughout the entire
beginning,
the first
one at the
episode,
end.
in like the 5th episode, and then the last episode. And like what I liked about it is like Shu's journey has nothing to do with Hamdo. It's all about pursuing and trying to save Lallaroo, and he doesn't know what her issue really is. He doesn't understand the scope of Hamdo, while Hamdo is like trying to destroy these nations that are opposing him, and then he just notices that there's this one insurgent that just keeps like bothering him, and he's like, who is this kid?
Yeah, every time he just asks, "Who are you?"
Yeah, he
Yeah.
literally sees him in the last episode. He's like, "Who are you?" He starts like, hitting him with a stick.
That was actually kind of great, though.
And then so they did not do a good job explaining Lallaroo at all.
Oh,
All right,
no, not
so-
at all.
Controlled
At
water.
first,
I think she's a water deity.
at first, I thought she was just able to like rip portals to Earth because I didn't understand that it was a machine that they were all in. So I thought it was like a portal to like the old Earth, and she was just like pouring, like it was a portal in the middle of the ocean, and it was just water coming from that. But like at the end, like she disappears once like she creates water, probably killing millions of people, by the way, on the
Definitely killing millions of people. That's the idea.
to Earth, and she just like disappears. And at that point, I was like, oh, I guess she's like an embodiment of water. But throughout the show, and it talks about her probably being older than
She's apparently tens of thousands of years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
When she
But
was talking
it
to
did
Sis, she mentioned that.
Yeah.
It didn't really explain it well, I thought.
Yeah, and so I'm pretty sure she's some sort of like water deity just because of her lifespan and powers.
It could be the embodiment of water is what I was thinking once she disappeared.
I don't think so, if only because water still existed without her before and after.
She
That is
needed
true.
her pendant, right?
Yeah, and she needed the pendant to... No. The pendant just contained water. I don't think she needed it to manipulate already existing water. Which I think she did once. Yeah, she didn't need to use the pendant because the pendant didn't glow when she manipulated already existing water.
That's true.
She's needed the pendant to create water, which was more important in the first half when there was like no water anywhere. The second half she did not need the pendant because she had water around her, except at the very end where she used up the pendant. But the pendant was just to have water with her when there wasn't water around. Lallaroo. Alright, so here's a quick question. Where do we all stand on Rei Ayanami clones? Not the actual Rei Ayanami from Evangelion, because I'm sure we'll cover that another time, as well as the fact that I think Rei Ayanami has been analyzed to hell and back. But on her clones, there's always one, at least.
I think it's one of the worst archetypes. It's a totally unrealistic character that I know they like try to have them. They try to explain it in different ways, but I don't think it ever really explains it well unless they're not human. And I understand that she's not human here, but she, like at least I don't know.
She's too
I
human
don't
to not be. She's too human to be unhuman, but too unhuman to be human. So she's just kind of left badly.
I don't like I don't like archetypal characters anyway, and so there's no reason I would like a Rey clone.
Yeah.
I think Rey clones can be done well. Like, I think Rey Ayanami herself was a pretty okay character, and I know a lot of people will come at me with pitchforks for that probably.
There's also
but
technically a Rey clone also.
Okay, that was rude.
yeah.
Uncalled for.
But yeah, I don't know. I think Lararu just did not have a personality, whereas Rey and Rey clones can have personality. Lararu didn't. Like,
I would like to say that I think they tried a little bit there though, with Lularu like in Sis's eyes. Okay, only like with her one conversation with Sis, and then like the ending in the beginning. Basically, I think what they were going for with Lularu was like a deity who's just tired of humanity and didn't want to interact with them anymore. And then in Sis's eyes, she kind of changed from that to like just being a lonely child, which was weird. And then after that, she gave her life for humanity, which I guess that means Shu convinced her of the good, but I don't.
Hey,
Let's see.
Shu's a miracle worker.
then I'd still think Sis had more personality than she did,
Oh,
because
no, that's true. But
Sis is the one who kind of was like. So I guess Sis is the one who figured her out, and in a way gave her kind of almost imposed a personality upon her, if that makes sense.
that's pretty much what happened, yeah.
Yeah, so I really think she was just. I don't know. I don't even know what to think of her. Rey clones, I don't tend to like them anyway, but I do believe they can be done well if they have an appropriate personality. Not here.
Do you guys want to talk about Sarah?
We need to talk about Sarah. I don't know how we managed to avoid talking about
Okay.
Sarah.
I'll start this one off if you don't mind. So when I said it's like a Ghibli film, it felt like that at first. You kind of have this mysteriousness and this. Shu has this energy, but also this curiosity that a child would have. A lot of Ghibli movies do that really well, and I probably compare it most to Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which also kind of has death and like war machines and stuff. So even that aspect of it can kind of be appropriate to that comparison. But when you, and again, I think if you consolidated it into a movie, it would have been good. But characters like Sarah were just added unnecessarily to add more to it. I don't think she was needed. It
Sarah
just made the
changes.
show unnecessarily dark. She does change.
That being
No, not
said,
that.
though, I think they handled her very well. Not a necessary part of the show, but like definitely, I don't think she detracted from it at all.
No, that's not what I meant to. I think Sarah changes the demographic from like she changes the entire show, right? I think they handled Sarah well. They handled all the dark parts. They handled her trying to escape, her having to kill to do so, her trying to protect her own body, which, as it turns out, she hadn't done before. So that was awful. Her trying to deal with the pregnancy, and we won't talk about the resolution of that because I think that just kind of stood at no resolution. You're stuck at the end of the world. But I think they handled her very well. But the existence of Sarah and her hardships made the show a lot darker and scarier and more hopeless than previously.
So for viewers, Sarah was raped by one of the soldiers, and I think they did a very good job showing how she could not talk to men after that.
Yeah.
Like, not even at the end of the show, she still even had trouble then.
Yeah.
Really being able to open up to any men. But I thought they did a good job showing her like struggle, the turmoil that it imposed on her.
I thought so too. I just don't think these. I don't think Sarah belonged in this show. Like, I think these things probably should have been separate. I think on her own, Sarah was a good character. The way they handled her was well, but it didn't necessarily detract from the show, but it didn't fit with the rest of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up 2 more points before we go to final thoughts. This is leading into the question of demographic for the show. The show kicks off, like you said, it feels like a Studio Ghibli movie. And it felt like it was meant for children, maybe older children, but like it felt like the show
like tweens.
Tweens, yeah. It felt like it was meant for a younger audience. And then a little bit past the introduction of Sarah and everything that happens there, the rape, the murder, the loss, the extreme focus on child warfare, the everything that happened in between there and the corruption of like a lot of people's characters, it felt like it was meant for an older audience, but still kind of felt like it was meant for a younger audience due to art style and Shu and his dialogue. So, like, who was this meant for?
I honestly think that's on purpose. Because, like, the juxtaposition between Chu's demeanor into, like, this world where it's, like, completely hopeless. I think that's the point.
I would agree if you had Shu changed in any way and or had any arguments other than it'll get better, I swear.
It's almost like he wasn't affected. He was tortured and he just smiles it off.
The highlight of that show was him being hung by the back, not by the neck he lift, because I thought that was going to really do something to him. It didn't.
Yeah. And whipped, for that matter.
Whipped, then hung.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right, I'm not saying he's a realistic character. I'm saying, you know,
No.
It's just...
It feels like... No, go.
No. I mean, I was just going to repeat what I was going to say earlier. Go ahead.
It feels like the juxtaposition fails due to the fact that Shu doesn't reflect... The world starts to reflect Shu's ideals, but Shu never once reflects the world's.
Yeah.
Right.
I wanted to mention something very small real quick. You had said that it reminded you of a Studio Ghibli movie. In the very first, like, 3 or 4 episodes, it reminded, like, the architecture, the clothing, and the machinery all made me think of, like, a cross between Final Fantasy VI and, like, Chrono Trigger. It seemed like that kind of fantasy. I don't know what you would call it. I know, like, most of the Final Fantasies are kind of like advanced steampunk, but it wasn't quite there. It was like more diesel than anything, but I don't know.
I had that in mind too. Like, at a lot of points I felt like it almost kind of seemed like an RPG game. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I guess just the setting and also the music. I kind of had that in mind too. That being said, on this whole, like, not quite advanced steampunk, I think Ghibli films tend to do that as well. Like I said, Nausicaa. I think that's the one with the airships. I can't really remember.
They've got the buzzing things.
Yeah, so I think it reminded me a lot of that.
All right, and
Also,
for the ending of... Oh, go.
Oh, yeah. Their style world building was also, like, very much like a Ghibli movie. Like, it went through the characters more than it just showed off the world. Like, the characters are basically just an example of the world rather than, you know, characters themselves.
Yeah, that's true. And
they also went through the desert at some point, and that also felt very Nausicaa to me. I don't know what the deal was with that creature they fought there. We didn't really mention that, but that was
needed to kill time.
That was just, yeah, again, they added stuff that wasn't necessary. Also, the camera angles in that show, I couldn't figure out what was going on, or in that episode, I didn't. Are they going up or sideways? I don't know, but yeah, it still kind of reminded me of a Ghibli film there, but it was weird and out of place. Yeah.
Also, that monster just kind of killed itself that much. Anywho,
Ate a grenade.
ate a
No
grenade.
big deal.
And
Yeah,
it had never once missed them before, but when they're standing still, it's just so hard to grab a human as opposed to a grenade that's been popped. That episode is bad. And on the ending of the show, I think I'm safe to assume here this is supposed to be a Noah's flood, a cleansing flood. All the evil in the world dies. Here's a fresh start to the world. Go.
I agree with that.
How do people feel about... It felt weird because the whole show, I felt like the director was trying to push his ideals through Shu. His ideals of what he wanted the world to be through Shu.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's never... Humanity was not the cause of the future. It was humanity's too far gone. Here's a reset with like all 3 good humans left and some children who I guess are still innocent. And a god, I guess we're going to call her, just got rid of the rest and hard reset it.
I think it was a fine ending. I'm not a huge fan of like happy endings, which I guess this one's arguably happy.
I think this is
But,
a happy ending.
Yeah,
It's pretty
overall
happy.
it seems happy because I guess Sarah's the one who kind of did that. She's like, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine," or yeah. Overall, it was a happy ending, and I don't really know if that was the. I don't know. I don't think it could have had a better ending, honestly. I think.
Yeah.
I expected it to end with him going back to school, and then he was going to beat the kid in kendo.
Oh yeah, I super expected Kendo to happen and it just didn't, and I was a little bit bummed, but also kind of pleased.
Yeah.
And do kote, like he's got to get the other 2 in.
You never learned.
No,
Why
he
did we
didn't
have-
spend the entire
he-
fucking
he-
show.
No, he never learned once. I expected him to fight better when he had to fight with Navika, but no, it's still
Man.
just man.
I like Nabika's final contribution was dying, but giving the main character the stick.
I think it was supposed to be a reflection of Boo's actions before.
But it's a stick.
It's a stick.
That like it's his stick. Why couldn't he just hit him with the gun? Like they
That
had
stick
rifles
represented
more
something.
plentiful than sticks.
That stick represented
went
something.
Through this entire adventure with him, man. It's an important
Listen,
stick.
I'm trying to figure out. I think that stick represented his unwillingness to kill, except for the fact that it shattered when he was fighting Hamda, but he still didn't kill Hamda.
Probably to shatter so that he wouldn't kill him, because he probably would have kept hitting him until like he stopped moving.
But
And so
that
it
means
like
he-
shattered to as a final like saving moment.
Oh, okay. I'll take it as a saving moment. Though I guess that does mean he was being Hamda with his unwillingness to kill. I'll take it. Whatever. Symbolism. I don't know. I'm not smart. With the flood thing, I did like the ending on like some level. I think it was like a fine ending, and if this has been a movie, I think it would have been a fine ending.
Yeah.
It's just that like yo, director, if you have all this faith in humanity, show some faith in humanity.
No, I've seen
I don't know.
I've seen quite a few shows end this way that are like this. I honestly think it's a fitting ending.
Yeah.
For the tone of the show.
All right. Well, with that in mind, we will head over to final thoughts and ratings, unless anybody wants to bring anything up real fast. Yes? No? All right. Hold your silence. So I'll kick us off here. My overall score was a 6.5 out of 10. While the show wasn't awful, I don't think I can justify calling it very good. It tried to do too much. I'm not one for these kinds of shows in the first place, but I hated Shu. I didn't really like Lalaurie very much. Sarah was done very well, but it was also the least part of the show character in the show. And Hamda was cool, but not worth really rating a show very good for. Abelia, her struggle was there, but like also not there. So the 6.5 out of 10. I really would not recommend going to watch this. I think there are better things you can watch, and or arguably even maybe worse-ish things you can watch, depending on how important you rate endings. That you'd still probably enjoy more. This was not a great view for me. So there you go.
Give it a 6 out of 10. This is actually probably one of the, I wouldn't say better, like on the better half of these types of shows I've seen. So, yeah, 6 out of 10. Main character never changes in these types of shows, so I honestly didn't expect him to in the first place. Didn't bother me quite as much.
I've been comparing this. You keep saying this kinds of shows. Can you give us a few other names?
Elemental Glade, for one. There are like a bunch that are just not well known. I can't really give any other names like without looking them up, but
because I've just been comparing this to Neon Genesis Evangelion. Because
no, I'm comparing this more to like an adventure type story. You know.
Oh, okay, to an adventure type story, not a. Okay, that makes this completely different. I've been focusing harder on the trying to be thought provoking bit.
No.
Like
okay, so. Huh?
Like Mirai Nikki, which was worse, but still more enjoyable.
Mirai Nikki was more enjoyable. I would not call it worse.
I would call it worse.
I hated it. I liked Mirai Nikki, but that's because I didn't put any thought into it. I just watched it and had fun. So, Tom, what is your score?
I give it a 6 out of 10. So 4 6s, not 3. Jovan's the Antichrist, not me.
Well, that was an allegation.
I would not recommend it to people. I enjoyed it up to like episode 5. Once they had the desert episode, that's number one point where everything started. But something. And so yeah, wouldn't recommend it. 6 out of 10. Don't watch it, guys. If you stuck with us through spoilers and didn't watch the show, if you did watch it, sorry.
Well, everyone's giving it negative feedback, but also scoring it well. See, I gave it a 4 out of 10 because I think the story was fine, but it really should have been a movie. This should not have been an anime, in my opinion. I think they very
feedback. By the way,
you didn't. Thomas and Javon did. I think the entire story easily could have been consolidated into a movie, and it would have been done much better. So overall, while I kind of enjoyed it, it was hard to get through. It dragged on, and I gave it a 4 out of 10 because it just could have been done in a better way. And I also would not recommend watching it. There are much better things.
Go watch Evangelion.
Go watch Ghibli.
It's the same thing, but yeah, go watch Ghibli if you want something in that feel. Go watch like any adventure really for that, and go watch Evangelion if you want the mind-provoking thingy. Although I cannot guarantee you will enjoy Evangelion either. At least you'll be watching something that everybody else has seen. So, with that in mind, that's our thoughts on Imasoko no Iraboku. It's so fun to say. Moving on, in 2 weeks we will be covering Elfen Leid, brought to you by Steven. Steven, why?
I have watched this show several times. It was one of my first anime, one of my first few, which is probably strange, but
it was one of my first actually too.
It was early on for me as well.
It's probably one of the better known darker ones, I think. I don't actually know how well known it is, but I hear about it a lot. It's dark.
Sample the opening for it.
It's really dark. It doesn't really hold anything back, and it may not necessarily be good going back and reviewing it objectively, but I believe it's probably worth watching and doing an objective review on.
All right.
It's something different.
That's for sure. So, oh yeah, by the way, I guess I should give a fair warning now. You guys have tuned into Heavy Pod for the next month, as it's Elfen Lead followed by Higurashi, but if you can survive that long, it gets worse with Love Live. The schedule will be published. But at least I've said it in words.
Here.
I've said it in words, yeah. Also, it should be noted that for Steven's show of Elfen Lead, he will not be here.
He will also be in a different
Bye,
location than
Steven.
this next time.
Yeah, and everything.
Hopefully
At
not
least
in a
production will be
closet.
higher.
Enjoy
Yeah,
Not
production
America.
will be higher. Yeah, enjoy Not America. We will be trying to get guest hosts, depending on how that works. But so I wanted to say right now, Steven, thanks a lot for the Elfen Lead on your way out. I dislike you.
We'll see you in a
Sorry.
couple months.
Yeah. Other than that, show's still biweekly. I think that's all we have to say. Does anybody have anything else to say?
Has Jovan released the schedule yet?
I meant to.
Still
Good.
no.
I like that we've been talking about this for the past like 3, 4,
4 or 5 months.
5 podcasts, 6 podcasts, maybe.
I said it out loud this time, though. I told them the schedule. So really, if you want to know our schedule, then you should just watch through to the end of the podcast reviewing Emo Boku. Yeah, no, I'll post it. Not probably today, probably tomorrow, but it'll be posted.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to be
Okay.
reminded?
Being reminded would be helpful, yes.
All right.
Our schedule, I don't think it's going to be our total schedule because that does change. I'm just going to post the schedule for the next 4 podcasts, I believe, at a time. Just giving us a little bit more wiggle room. So, with all that in mind, I guess we bid you adieu. Thanks for watching WeTaku. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.